What's good, y'all, and welcome to my review for AEW Full Gear 2021. Final pay-per-view from AEW this year, and man, this show fucking slapped. I will say the show was there was probably maybe one too many matches on the card. I feel like one of these matches in particular you could have cut off from the show and just put on like Dynamite or something. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Otherwise, guys, this show was fucking amazing. There was a lot of fantastic matches. Of course, the two biggest ones that I'm sure everyone's gonna be talking about is gonna be Darby Allen and MJF, and of course Kenny Omega and Adam Page, which we guys know Adam Page is your new AEW World Heavyweight Champion. So yeah, man, both those matches were phenomenal. If you were like to put a gun to my head and ask me which one was my favorite out of the two, I think I might give the slight edge to Kenny and Hangman, but it could honestly switch over to MJF and Darby Allen. That match was also a fucking banger in its own right, ladies and gentlemen. But without further ado, let's just jump right into the card, man. So first off, MJF versus Darby Allen. This was what started off the show, and my God, what a way to start the show. This match, I should say, was fucking brilliant, and the ending, mwah, fantastic. Without ado, let's jump right in. So, one thing I liked about this one is you had MJF make his entrance, and then Justin Roberts had to say, the man that can defeat Darby Allen with, like, what was it, like a headlock takedown? You know, I didn't know what the move was. That was, you know, the whole thing that, you know, MJF was going, like, oh, I can beat you with, like, a headlock takedown, or whatever the move was called. So I felt like I put in, like, Justin Roberts gives like 0 tips. He doesn't try and like be like, hey, like, you know, like, oh, MJ, and nothing. He just says the man that can beat Darby Allen in a headlock takedown, I should say, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF. That's it. I just thought that was funny. And then Darby comes up. He has this whole video playing of him with like this car crashing, flames and shit, black and white. Looked really cool. And so once he made his, then they make their entrance, and these guys go at it. I love the way the match guys start with these guys are kind of going back and forth, like they got in like a test strand or whatever. Then they were like kind of like both of them were on the floor, and like both, and that's a reference like count 1, 2. They both lift their left shoulders up, go back to the ground. Then they both lift their right shoulders up. Then they both bridge, and then they kind of just go at each other like with like flips and just like counter each other. You know, it looked like a bridge into like I forget what it was, a power bomb or something. Either way, that shit looked fucking cool, man. And so that was cool. Then, of course, we get later on in the match, MJ was out in the ring. He, like, throws Darby back in there, and then Darby, like, sprints towards him like fucking the Flash and just does a suicide dive on him. Looked absolutely amazing. But, of course, probably the craziest spot of the night is one you had MJF hit Darby with a tombstone piledriver on the fucking apron. That had to fuck his knees up. And that's what MJF was selling throughout the later part of this match was his knees. And like, man, can MJF sell? Like, we all know how great MJF is. He has proven how good he is time and time again. But man, this man can fucking sell. Like in his last match, and I think it was All Out against Chris Jericho, the man was selling his back, and he was like walking and shit like a fucking 80-year-old man. And it was like the funniest shit ever. But man, could he sell? And once he like really started to sell the knee, when Darby started to focus on him with like a figure 4, whenever he would have to counter moves, like, you know, Darby's like a coffin drop and shit and put the knees up. He'd be screaming in pain and shit, man. So good, amazing selling from MJF. But anyway, probably the fun part match with these guys were going back and forth, leading to these guys basically all wrapping in like a roll-up, spinning around the ring like it's some fucking Crash Bandicoot Twinsanity type shit, man. It was fucking awesome, and of course the crowd was loving every second of it, and of course ending the match off with MJ bringing in the skateboard, begging, like, you know, trying coaxing fucking Darby to hit him with it. Hit me! You know, and of course Darby just throws it out of the way, but he turns his back. MJF gets the diamond ring, punches Darby out, and pins him with the headlock takedown for the 1, 2, 3. Brilliant ending, man. MJF does exactly what he set out to do, man. Fucking amazing match and a brilliant ending. And yeah, man, that match was an amazing way to start off the show. So next up we had was the Lucha Bros versus FTR. Another fantastic tag team match. I definitely wouldn't say this is as good as the match between we got at All Out between the Bucks and the Lucha Bros. That match is in its own separate league, but this was also a fantastic match as well between two great tag teams, man. So this one was there was a lot of cool spots in here. Like you had of course that Pentagon doing his own El Cero Miedo shit, which I always love, man. I always love that shit. And then of course, Tully would get involved a handful of times, and then you would actually have you had like one of them, I think it was Cash Wheeler, though it might have been Dawson or whatever the other one's name is, wrap up the little towel things that are like the ends of Pentagon's mask, wrap it up in the robes, and of course he would start attacking him as the ref is trying to untie it. Then you had this amazing spot where Ray Phoenix, Pentagon has up one of them up in a package pile driver. Ray Phoenix lands on top of him and then jumps over him to do a crossbody on the other member of FTR. The balance required for that, Jesus, man. Holy fuck. That, bruh. My God, man, that was absolutely insane. But that was only a 2 count and they both kicked out at the same time, man. Fucking crazy, man. But we ended the match off with later on, eventually FTR for some reason put on masks, a luchador mask. I don't know why. Maybe there was something on Dynamite I missed because I've been kind of busy this week. I watched Dynamite, but I'm not fully paid attention. I don't know if there was something I missed on Dynamite or Rampage a particular week or something, but they both wore lucha masks. I guess to try to maybe distract the ref. Whatever the case may be, they tried to get the quick pin with them, lead with him leaning on the ropes. Of course, the ref caught him. He got out there. Then the Lucha Bros ended spiking his head with some move. I didn't say what it was called, and that's when we got the 1, 2, 3. Fantastic tag team match, and once again, this is when the show was still red, white hot. I was invested from start to finish, but then I will have to say after the Deep Bryan match, because the Deep Bryan match, which was up next with Rusev Miro, excuse me, that match was also fantastic as well. But I would definitely say after that match is when the show started to lose steam for a little bit before it started getting back up with Punk and shit. But anyway, man, enough further ado. Let's jump right into seeing Deep Bryan and Miro. So Deep Bryan and Miro, this match was also awesome in its own right. So the match started with Miro mostly on the offensive, throwing Deep Bryan around and stuff, and there was even the point where throws him out the ring instead of continuing the assault on him. He kind of just yeah, let's go, come on, Deep Bryan. He lets him recuperate and come back to the ring. Him and he does that peck moving shit. I don't know how to do that shit. But as the match continues on, of course, Deep Bryan gets a little bit more offense, and he tries to dive, but Miro countered it. But eventually, you had Deep Bryan start hitting Miro with a bunch of kick with his patented kicks, and eventually Miro's come on, he's telling him to give more than Miro kicks him back and he hits, and Deep Bryan starts hitting him there. You of course had him Deep Bryan actually when he locked in. When Rusev locked in the Colossus, Deep Bryan managed to managed to get to the rope the first time, and then I think it was the first time or it might have been the second time. I don't think it was the second time, but it was one of the 2 times Miro put in the Colossus, where he just starts looking up the sky, with his arm reached out, being God, what do I have to do to beat him? It was the funniest shit ever, man. And they locked in a second time. That's when Deep Bryan managed to counter it into a roll up, but of course Miro kicked out. So then. One part that was actually brilliant was where Rusev tried to lock in the Colossus again, but Deep Bryan manages to counter it into the label lock. He's come get the face lock and everything. I liked how I think it was Excalibur mentioned on commentary he can't, or it might have been Tony Schiavone mentioned because Deep Bryan had his they had the hand lock or whatever you call the cross face on over Miro's eyes. He's he can't see, he doesn't know how far he is away from the ropes. Thought that was cool, man. But eventually, of course, Miro managed to get out of it, and of course, when we then finally end the match off with Deep Bryan hitting a tornado DDT off the second rope when Miro was on the top rope, hits it in there and locks in a guillotine to win the match. A guillotine, huh, Deep Bryan? I see you. I see you, fam. You ain't slick. I see you. But, yeah, man. Great, fantastic match. But like I said, Deep Bryan's, of course, now the new #1 contender for the AEW Championship. So that's going to be interesting whenever he and Adam Page, of course, face off probably on Dynamite. in like the coming weeks, most likely, is when we're going to see that match. But of course, then like I said, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, this is kind of when the show started to lose a little bit of steam. Like I said, none of the matches from like this point on to when we got to like Punk were bad. All of them were really good matches, but compared to like the 3 matches that preceded them, it wasn't nearly as they were not nearly as good. I was like, and this is when I was starting to think about probably this is where I was starting to like dip my rating for it a little bit before Punk happened and then raising it back up to where I had it at the start of the show. So next up, we of course had the Street Fighter Tornado the Falls Count Anywhere match between Adam Cole and the Young Bucks versus of course Christian and Jurassic Express. Which overall, like I said, this was a fun match. It's a great match. A lot of cool shit happened in this match. So this match, there was a lot of crazy shit. Like you had this one spot where the Young Bucks had the Jungle Boy up on they were throwing him over like the top rope, but Jungle Boy's legs bounced off the rope. He counters it, throws the Young Bucks behind him, and just kind of chills in this chair for a second. And the crowd's losing their mind. You had Tony Schiavone saying "Oh, he makes it look easy." Then Adam Cole hits him with the last shot for his troubles. That was very fun, but of course, probably the sickest spot of the night, probably one of the sickest spots I've ever seen, and I mean that literally, was you have Adam Cole, he locks Jungle Boy into submission. I don't know which, I forget, it looked like the Colossal or whatever. And then the Young Bucks grabbed this black belt, which obviously had thumbtacks in it, because we can all kind of tell by now. Grabs these thumbtacks, they put a handful into each one of the Bucks' hand, and then they shove it into Jungle Boy's mouth. How this man kept himself from actually swallowing one of these is Jesus Christ, bro! You are playing with death at that point. You are really truly living on the edge of that shit. And they the Bucks are running the ropes for 5 times in a row for some reason or whatever. They kiss Adam Cole on the cheeks, which, like I mentioned in my review for All Out, I assume that's supposed to be some BTE reference, because I have no idea what the hell I'm looking at whenever they do that shit, man. So if any of y'all are more, more in the know of the Young Bucks lore, please explain to me what this shit's about. Because like I said, every time I see it on Dynamite or whatever, I'm like, what the hell is this? Is this supposed to be some BTE reference? The fuck? But anyway, so you had that, and then they eventually super kick him, of course, stereo super kicks. Then you also had these crazy spots where you had Christian jumping off off a balcony or something. You had fucking Adam Cole hit Luchasaurus with a fucking Panama Sunrise off the railing. You had Luchasaurus diving off the fucking stage. You have Christian running towards Adam Cole, and he gets a super kick for his troubles, and then Adam Cole eventually bladed it somewhere around the middle, a little bit more towards the beginning of the match, middle-ish of the match. So, we got a lot of color in the match as the match went on. And then eventually we end the match then you also had Jungle Boy wanting to get the opportunity, I believe, to hit Adam Cole, I believe it was, with a concerto, but he doesn't end up taking it. But then at the end of the match, one of the Young Bucks, I think it was Matt, is on the ground. Christian's ready to hit the concerto. Then Jungle Boy's like, no. Let me do it. He hits him, and of course gets the 1, 2, 3. Fantastic match, but compared to the rest of them, this one wasn't as good. And like I said, this is kind of when the show started to go down. It'll go down a bit, at least for me, where it really started to lose some steam. But yeah, man. So then next up, we of course had the Cody Rhodes tag team match with Pac and Cody Rhodes versus Andrade El Idolo. You have to say, every time you say Andrade, you have to say it as Andrade El Idolo. You gotta always say it like that, man. And of course, Malachi Black, which I also gotta say, I loved how Andrade came out dressed up as Black Mask. Thought that shit, every time he does that, man, I always say that shit's cool as hell. Because I dig Black Mask. I think he's a cool Batman villain. So every time he comes out wearing the mask, man, I'm hyped. But yeah, man, like I said, this was an overall pretty good match, but this honestly should have been on Dynamite, you ask me, man. But anyway, let's just jump right in. So one thing I gotta say straight off the bat is, first off, Cody was getting a lot of boos. Now granted, for the last couple of shows, at least on the pay-per-views, and I'm sure this has been off and on thing with Dynamite, you guys may have noticed that Cody's been getting some more and more boos as of late. for whatever reason. Some people don't like that. People think he's overexposed. You know, people think he's like the Triple H, burying people. You know, which I don't think I would go that far. There hasn't been any Cody Rhodes matches where it's like WrestleMania 19 with Booker T, man. So I don't know if I would go that far with Triple H, but you know, for whatever reason, it's kind of like the same. It's kind of like the Roman Reigns syndrome all over again, but with Cody Rhodes. At least that's what it's coming off. At least to me, it seems like. Oh no, I could be wrong on that. And you know, correct me in the comments if I am or whatever. But you know, I noticed that I was like, God damn. Like now, me personally, I don't really care. I like Cody Rhodes, I'm big, but I'm kind of indifferent to this whole thing, man, if I'm being real. But anyway, the match itself, of course, you have Pac and Cody not really jiving as much more. They're not jiving much throughout the match, with them constantly tagging each other, which even tagging themselves in throughout the match. And then, of course, Andrade El and Malachi Black started to do it as well, but eventually Pac won with like the Black Arrow, I believe, for the 1, 2, 3. Like I said, an overall solid match, an enjoyable match. The part where I see Arn Anderson got involved and like this dude who I think is with Andrade El Idolo was like coming after Arn. He was taking his jacket off, and then Arn just like punches him. He starts running like a fucking bitch. You know, that was pretty funny. That was low-key probably the highlight of the match. I was like, was Arn just chasing this guy down? That was pretty funny. But yeah, Pac wins with the Black Arrow for the 1, 2, 3. Solid match, but honestly, it was probably better off on Dynamite. Next up, we of course had the women's match between Tay Conti and Britt Baker. This was also a great match in its own right, but I would now there were some good spots. Like you of course have Britt Baker doing a couple of stomps here and there. You know, you had Ty, then you had like Reba losing her shit, and you know we got her. And one thing I did like actually is that Britt Baker won the match via roll up on Tay Conti. She didn't win with like the lockjaw or anything, which I thought was interesting, and kind of I think that did a lot for Tay Conti, because this was probably her best match. Honestly, she looked great in the match. I really enjoyed it. I liked the way she came out there with the face paint with like the Brazil face paint on. It looked really fucking cool, man. But I did like that she won with the roll up kind of signature move to kind of like even in defeat make Tay Conti look good. Thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, the match was great. Like you had her hit her finishing move, but of course Britt catched out and she's like completely shot. She's like in JR said, like that was her ace. That was her ace. You know, great shit, man. But yeah, man, like I said, good match. Just really wasn't much in there that really knocked my socks off with this match. I could have just be spoiled by NXT, but you know, solid match, a great match, but nothing I haven't already seen before. Anyway. After that, that's when, of course, this is when the show started to pick back up again. We have Punk and, of course, Eddie Kingston. Now, Punk at this time, and now Punk seems to really not be very uncertain on what he wants to wear as his ring gear, because a man kid doesn't seem like he can really pick one on what he wants. Sometimes he comes out in pants. Other times he comes out back in his trunks. And now this time he came out in UFC-style shorts. Like, bro, can you make up your damn mind what you want to wear to the fucking ring? Do you want to wear the pants? Do you want to stick with your trunks? Do you want to wear the shorts? Make up your mind, fam. Why you keep flip-flopping and switching all the damn time? Please, Punk, I'll let it slide. So, of course, this match is very personal, and that's what the match was. This match wasn't some fucking Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, you know, workhorse, beautifully wrestled classic. This was a street fight. This was a fight between two guys that wanted to beat the shit out of each other. And that is what you got, ladies and gentlemen. So Punk, Eddie Kingston made his effort. He did his thing. And when Punk did it, he didn't do the whole, crouching down, clobbering type shit. No. That man just marched his way to the ring, ladies and gentlemen. So, like I said, the match was great. These guys were going at each other's throats. A lot of hard hits. These guys are going, but of course, the highlight of the match that everyone's going to talk about, and of course I was hyped about, was Punk starts using John Cena's 5 moves of doom. You have the shoulder tackles, then you have the back suplex, and then he puts his hand up and he's about to do the 5-knuckle shuffle. I'm like, because at first I started to notice that he was doing the shoulder tap, but like Punk wasn't really doing the shoulder tap, because you guys know when John Cena does it, that man launches himself in there and puts all of his shoulder into that. Punk kind of more or less just kind of nudged into them. He didn't really even he didn't launch himself or lunge or nothing. He just there wasn't much power behind him, I noticed. But I'm like, wait, These are John's moves. This is his comeback. What the hell's going on here? And then when he put his hand up, I lost my shit because I'm like, yo, he's going to do the 5-knuckle shuffle, which I so wish he did, but he didn't. Instead, that's what he's about to do. So Eddie kicks and just gives him the finger. And I'm like, if he did that, man, I would have lost my shit because y'all know how much I fuck with John Cena, and you guys don't, case you guys. And as most of you guys probably know, Punk and John Cena, they tight. They're like really good friends apparently. They like really like working each other, which makes sense. I mean, look how good their matches were. But yeah, man, I liked that Punk was doing that. He knows that man knew exactly what he was doing with that one, man. But I wish he did the 5-knuckle shove, man. I would have lost my shit if he did that, man. But I still lost my shove anyway, just because I'm like, oh, he's doing the John's moves. But anyway, man, Punk I believe also bled in the match as well, so it's nice to get the color as well. But anyway. Punk wins with the GTS, 1, 2, 3. Punk extends his hand out to straight with Eddie Kingston, which, by the way, I must say, that promo that they had on Dynamite a few weeks ago, or might have been Rampage, fantastic one. Those two, an amazing promo. Had to talk about it because I had to bring it because that promo was fucking fire, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, Punk extends his hand for a handshake. Of course, Eddie Kingston just leaves the ring, and goes on with his lead. And so, yeah, man. Great, this fantastic match. This is when the show started to pick back up again, and I loved it, man. It's Punk, good shit, and the John Cena spot was hype as hell. That was probably the highlight of the match for me. But anyway, next up we had the Inner Circle versus America Top Team. This match was overall this match was great, man. This match was awesome. There was a lot of cool shit in this one. There was trash cans constantly being used. I'm pretty sure there were some table spots. A lot of crazy shit. You had what's his name, who was the leader of America's Top Team. His name is slipping me right now. But by the way, I love that guy. I think he's an amazing mouthpiece for this team. I always enjoy his promos, man. He's so entertaining to watch, man. And he was entertained, man. So, and the dude came out in like a tracksuit with like a headband on and like wristbands on and like sweatbands or whatever on, man. Fucking hilarious, man. At first it starts off like some typical like 5v5 survivors type shit, but then eventually it just dissolves into a brawl. And there was a point where I'm like, who's even the legal man anymore? But it was absolutely sandy, man. Trash cans. A lot of fucking crazy spots. A lot of good shit with this one. Chris Jericho even brought out a sign and was using that one too. That was pretty funny. You, of course, had the leader of American Top getting his pot shots in on Chris Jericho, then running away like a fucking pussy. But, of course, eventually Chris gets his hands on him and lays him out. And then, of course, he, points up to the sky and then hits the frog splash, which I must say wasn't the clearest frog splash I've ever seen, but it was cool. But yeah, and that's when you get to 1, 2, 3. As you guys may have noticed, there was a lot of references and tributes to Eddie Guerrero tonight. That's because, if you guys did not know, this is actually the 18th anniversary of his death, I think. And yeah, apparently he also died in this city. I believe we were in Minneapolis for this show. So apparently he also died in Minneapolis or whatever. So yeah. Interesting, but yeah, there was a lot of tributes to Eddie Guerrero, and even JR mentioned commentary after the match was over. He was saying, "I love you." Chris was saying, "I love you, Eddie," or "Thank you, Eddie," or something along those lines. So yeah, man, love tributes to Eddie Guerrero. You also have the Lucha Bros doing the fucking, Three Amigos. Oh man, when FTR did the Three Amigos, man, that shit was fucking hilarious. All right, but yeah, fantastic match. Love, great shit. But anyway, guys. Next up, we found out who was the next roster member that's going to be added to AEW, which we found out it was actually not Wyndham Rotunda. We're not getting Bray Wyatt yet. I don't know if Bray Wyatt actually isn't going to come to AEW or is going to Impact. I don't know, and I honestly don't really care. But wherever he goes, it should be. If he actually comes to AEW, that should be interesting. See what happens there, man. But it's actually Jay Lethal, which I was both shocked about and I was a little hyped for. Now, I'm going to be real. I know fuck all about Jay Lethal. All I know about the man is that it is, of course, that Ric Flair promo. But hey, if you can go toe-to-toe with the Nature Boy on the mic, I feel like that means that you have earned your place in this business, you know what I'm saying? If you can match up with the Nature Boy on the mic, man, I think you good, man. You good in my books, and you're like, yeah, you glog here, man. You're worth your shit. So yeah, man. Jay Lethal's coming out. He called out Sammy G for a match for the TNT Championship. Sammy came out, accepted it, and we're going to be getting that match on Dynamite this week. So that should be interesting. That should be a great match. And yeah, man. Then, of course, we got to the main event between Adam Hangman Page and, of course, Kenny Omega. Had to do that. But this was a fantastic match in its own right, man. Like I said, this was probably my favorite match of the night. If not, it was definitely the Darby Allen match. A lot of crazy shit in here. You actually had Adam Page hitting a fucking pop-up power bomb as well going into his inner Kevin Owens. That was pretty lit, man. I don't know if that means that KO is confirmed coming to AEW or not. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that, man. But that was cool. You had, of course, had like Adam Page going for the buckshot lariat and actually hits the ref, and the ref is out, and then he hits like, I think he hit like dead eyes or whatever, and then Arby's like sprinting to the ring, and she gets like the 1-2 count, and I was like, no, come on, don't do us like this. I fucking love JR, man. So good on commentary. And so you had that insanity. Then you, of course, had Don Callis do his thing. He got into the ring with the belt, about to hit Adam Hangman Page from the behind. But then Adam looks at him. He's like, oh, and then he runs away. Then he's about to use the belt, but ends up not using it. Then fucking Kenny goes for the one-winged angel. Adam gets out of it. Then Adam hits his own one-winged angel on Kenny Omega. Kicks out at 2. Fucking insanity, man. And then eventually the Bucks come in there. They simply nod to Hangman Page as he hits the buckshot lariat for the 1, the 2, and the 3. So, fantastic match. I know I didn't really do much of these matches justice, man, but hey, a lot of crazy shit, man. A lot of crazy shit, man. But, yeah, man. Of course, a lot of people have been theorizing, including, like, which I can, want to watch JD's review, about what the nod could mean. Does this mean Kenny is going to be out of the Elite? And what does this mean? What's going to happen? Is Adam Cole going to be the new leader of the Elite or whatever? Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if Kenny ends up leaving the Elite or gets kicked out of the Elite, probably taking a couple months off, which I think he's deserved, man, from, holding, for all he's done for the company, man. I think the man has earned a couple days off. But whatever might happen with the Bucks and Kenny and all that shit, that's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with that if he ends up getting kicked out on. Guess we'll probably find out or see something on Dynamite that might quench our curiosity or whatever. But yeah, man. Of course, the Dark Order came in there. They were all celebrating with Hangman Page, and the show went off the air. So yeah, phenomenal show. A lot of fantastic matches. Did kind of lose steam around the middle, but picked it back up with CM Punk, man, and they were back off to the races. And man, that opening match between Darby and MJF, probably one of the best, probably the best opening match AEW has ever put on, at least for their pay-per-views, man. Fantastic match, and that was probably that one and the Acting the World title match were definitely my top 2. Interchangeable on which one I thought was better, but I think I liked Hangman Page's match a little bit more. But the Darby Allen match was fantastic in its own right, man. So much good shit, especially with the skateboard and shit. Ugh, and that ending. Mwah. Brilliant. I love the ending of that match, man. But yeah, man, overall, I'm going to give this show a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. So, of course, like always, leave your thoughts down below in the comments, guys, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like, if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.